Now the Raiders finally will be coming home. Rough one today up there in Orchard Park, up in Western New York, as they get thwarted by the Buffalo Bills. But yet, I would say if you went in, kind of bigger picture, you go to Denver, get a nice win in week 1 on the Road against Sean Payton. And okay, yeah, good start to the game, 7-0 today against Buffalo, and then you end up losing 37-10. But in all, I think the Raiders have to be pretty happy where they are right now. Now, the Steelers are going to make that cross-country trip out here to the desert next week for the Raiders home opener. And right now, it opened at 1.5 in favor of the road team. Now, again, there are certain teams that travel very well, fan base-wise. There's going to be a lot of Steelers fans.
There's going to be a lot of terrible towels at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday night. A lot of terrible towels.
So while it is their inaugural game at home this year, it might be a 60-40 Raiders, but you're going to hear that Pittsburgh crowd. Does that factor in? It's moved a little bit towards the Raiders from 1.5 down to 1. The total opened 45.5 down to 44. But it does feel like a pretty much one of those coin flip games.
Yeah, it was a pick 'em, and now 1.5. Pittsburgh laying on the road here. And I think one of the reasons why is because we know today Jacoby Myers missed with a concussion, who was actually their leading receiver in their Week 1 win at Denver. But also Devontae Adams left the game today with a concussion. So that is something that you're going to want to monitor. If they don't have one or both of those guys back, who the hell is Jimmy G going to throw to?
Oh, boy.
And, Adams got that hit over the middle, ruled unnecessary roughness, 6 catches, 84 yards, and that early touchdown, the first touchdown in the game on the first drive of the game for the Silver and Black. But I don't necessarily disagree with the move. What I would be looking at, though, Dave, is I would be looking at the total. I think this opened 40.5 in terms of a look ahead. When I say open, I mean the look ahead last week.
Yep.
And then now up to 44, 44.5. I even see a 45 over at Caesars. Under would be the way I would look here, too, because I just don't know about the health of those receivers. And we know Pittsburgh projected, at least on Monday night, to be in a low-scoring game. When the total was 37.5, that's the lowest on the board this week for Week 2. So, I don't know. I don't know if I see a very high-scoring game here. I would certainly lean under, at least early. I may actually bet that tonight or in the morning.
9 carries, -2 yards. That's the line for one Josh Jacobs. A lot of consternation during the offseason about whether or not he was going to come back. He was very upset. Ended up signing a 1-year deal to come back. And so far, not so good. Jimmy G had a rough game today, even though starting off with that 1 touchdown pass on that first drive.
Part of that rushing, too. Obviously, the Raiders only ran it 15 times of 39 plays. Raiders only had 39 plays. Buffalo, by the way, was on the field, their offense, for 40 minutes. I know time of possession, if it be in a passing league and it's not the running league that it was in the 70s and the 80s and the early to mid-90s. There are some times where it still gives you an indicator. Sometimes it'll lie to you. If a team can score like that quickly, like Miami, where they're getting like a bunch of 20, 25-yard passes from Tua and company down the field. But today, boy, it told you that it was dominant today.
And it really was. That time of possession made a big difference in that Bills victory. So monitor the Raiders' situation at receiver. You would think, especially if they are banged up, they're not going to be 100%, even if they can go, that you would think the Raiders would try to get that running game on tap against a really good defense, at least on paper, in the Steelers. And conversely, yeah, I'm with you. It feels like with this number being bet up on the total, you're getting maximum value right now on the under.
Yeah, and I think, it's because the Raiders' defense, obviously the secondary, leaves a little bit to be desired. It pretty much has since they moved here to Las Vegas. So, looking at the injury now, I want to see, I don't know how long Cameron Hayward, they said he was going to be out. I wouldn't expect him to be back. Obviously, that's your big run stopper.
Yep.
If you're, so to your point, Raiders, I think, are going to try to establish the run. This is obviously the home opener at Allegiant Stadium. And also the fact that, Jimmy G, first time at home, get him in a little bit of a rhythm, run the ball, some short passes. down the field, and it might have to be short passes if you don't have Adams or Myers.
It's one of those games, if you're a Raiders backer here, that you have to figure out a way to get it done, right? And that's why we're seeing this basically as a pick 'em. And I'm sure the Steeler fans are thinking the same thing, depending on how things go tomorrow night for the Steelers in game number 2. But, boy, if they lose tomorrow night against Cleveland, they certainly don't want to be looking at 0-3. So that's going to be a very pivotal game if those teams are going to grow up quickly this year.